You're not going to do business with someone you don't trust, and you're not going to trust somebody you don't like. And I think a lot of agents skip to the do business with me, thinking that wearing a suit or driving a BMW will build the trust, and they completely ignore all likability.
Welcome back, everybody, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire people to live at the pinnacle of their ability and purpose. And we have another incredible guest here today with us. As always, Garrett is here with me. I'm Matt. And then joining us today is my friend, Luca Alboretti. He is a social media expert, an expert community builder, and the founder of the ActuallyAgents movement. You may know the Instagram account. But there's a lot more behind it than just 200,000 followers on Instagram. And there's a lot more to Luca as well. So I'm really excited to bring him on here and have this conversation. Luca, good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning. The ActuallyAgents movement. I like it.
Yeah, it
I
is a
like
movement.
putting that feather in my hat. It's a movement. There might not be a ton of people, but it's not the Million Man March, but there's a movement.
You say not a ton of people from somebody, I mean, who obviously builds community and builds, platforms like this. But at the same time, like, it's been really fascinating over the years to watch ActuallyAgents grow, and the recognition of people going like, I know what that is. I know where that came from. Like, it's pretty awesome out there. How long have you been doing ActuallyAgents for?
ActuallyAgents has been around for 5 years now. 5 years. So not a meteoric rise, but a consistent rise.
It's funny, in my mind, I feel like it's been around longer. I feel like it's been kind of this thing that's been part of my world. But I think one part is it feels that way because you guys have just been so darn consistent. Like, you always show up in my feeds and my world. So again, well done with what you've built here. What got you started with building ActuallyAgents? Where did this all come from?
Well, I was always fascinated with the idea of earning money through a computer screen, because the computer screen you can take wherever, whenever. And I was managing my grandfather's brokerage at the time. He kind of picked me up one day out of my life and said, "You're getting your real estate license. I think it'll be good for you." But really, I was like the exit strategy, the retirement plan, right? And I was just
Let's put Luca in there so that I can go up and sail into the sunset.
Yeah, it was the first time I thought it. I always remember I was sitting at the kitchen table and he said, "Yeah, Luca," he's German. So, "Yeah, Luca, I think you should get your real estate license. It would be good for you." And it had never occurred to me to do it, but I thought about it and I had this idea in my head of what a real estate agent was, what that looks like, what that lifestyle is. Obviously he had done pretty well in it, was able to support his family off it. I said, not a bad idea. Let me try it out. And then fast forward 2-3 years, and I was really, now after 2-3 years, I went from an agent managing the brokerage and recruiting agents and everything that entails, opening an office, dealing with all the admin stuff, trying to switch over to a digital system, because they were stuck in the past, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I just had a moment where I was thinking about that night at the dinner table and what I imagined it would be. And then I was looking around at the reality of what it was, and I was just not happy. And I had done some stuff like drop shipping in the past when I was younger, in my teen years, just side hustle for money. And I said, okay, well, I do have this free time. I have flexibility in my schedule. Let me just schedule some time to work on something. And the whole idea was, I'm just very unhappy with real estate, and let me just do something else on the side that I like or can learn to like. And then the real estate stuff won't be so bad. And I started selling, I think it was first yoga products, crystals and yoga mats and the little vibration bells. I mean, yeah. And that didn't go so well. So I moved to golf products, and I had like a golf page, and I started posting on social media, and Said, okay, that's where I'll get all my sales. And I got that golf page up to like 400 followers, and maybe did like 10, 20 sales. And then I was running the numbers and the profit margin was so low. I'm like, "Well, really gonna have to push volume here." And I kind of just kind of faced the reality. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a full-time job if I do this. So I got this brokerage, I got people depending on me. I can't really cut and run, so let's just not do it. And that kind of upset me a little bit because I started feeling trapped, claustrophobic, walls closing in. I'm like, how do I get out of this? I got my family depending on me now. I got employees depending on me making this successful. There's partners in the business. And so as things happen, I was up in a cabin in the woods with my buddies getting drunk. And I was like, okay, I got this 400 follower Instagram page. What the hell do I do with this? And I'm like, you know what? I was lied to about real estate. I didn't have the right perception about real estate. Let me just start telling people how real estate actually is in the medium of memes. And it was that night, absolutely plastered, that I posted the first meme on Actually Agents, deleted all the golf content, came up with the name right there. And the first meme, I guess because there were realtors following the golf page, did really well, better than any of my golf content. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I just kept going and going and going and going, and one post to the next, to the next, to the next, and skip around a little bit, but that's how we're here.
So, Luca, just to jump in before I let Matt come flying in here, is that some of the best growth in business that I've ever watched with people is when they're not. I mean, obviously, you could very easily have gotten locked into the brokerage. You could have very easily said, okay, this is my path. This is what I got to do. I got to write business plans around this, and we're going to grow this thing, and that's my future. Some of the best growth I've ever seen in best businesses have been when you are open, and maybe it took alcohol to get there, but you're open to kind of looking out to on the periphery and going, well, what about that? And what about this? And trying something completely outside the box and just going, let's throw this out there and see what happens. And some of those things, when it's just that like kind of shooting from the hip for a second and kind of going like, let's just see where it goes. But because you have your own personal identity, like I'm assuming that that voice that went out in that first post was more of you than anything of trying to do the yoga, trying to do the belt. I mean, it might be a part of you, but it's like, what's truly who I am. And I feel like that's what you leaned into. And the times that I've been able to talk with you and then watching, what you put on here, I feel like, well, yeah, you're probably about as authentic as you could get with that piece. And that's why it did really well.
That's a great point. I mean, the yoga stuff. You look at me. I don't do yoga. I think it's pretty damn apparent. Okay, I was relying heavily on online reviews for the quality of these yoga mats. I did do a little golfing though. Wouldn't say I'm an expert golfer, but I damn well knew about the downsides of real estate, and I could talk somebody's ear off about that. Perception versus the actual reality. So yes, and more importantly, when I started posting about the real estate stuff, there was no sell. I wasn't trying to sell anything, right? I didn't need to craft a perception for what I thought my avatar client was. I mean, my whole goal was, let me break it down how it really is, right? With no ulterior motives. And I think that plays a huge part, because while people do like being sold, they don't like knowing that they're being sold. And on a 400 follower Instagram page, if you start trying to push products, there's nothing to match that. It's just in your face. I'm not actually interacting with a brand. I'm interacting with a storefront, right? There's no connection there.
That's a really interesting point, that I don't think a lot of people consider the difference between a brand and a storefront, right? And this is speaking into real estate for a minute here with agents. Is a lot of times agents will be like, I need to build my brand. And maybe what they're actually starting to do is put up this storefront that people are interacting with. Because if it's not, getting to a contact to close situation, then they're just, not interested in having a conversation with a consumer out there. And, we can talk about the rise of actually agents and all this stuff, but let's deviate here into like, what have you seen now being like, you've been in this space for many, many years. You are an expert in social media, and like, not just from what content works, but also on the back end. Like, how the algorithms are, at least, from your experience. So what do you see with realtors that are kind of creating the storefront versus a brand? And how do they really understand if they're doing one or the other?
First off, I have to preface all this. I don't understand the algorithm, right? Or I don't know the algorithm. I'm friendly with the algorithm. I kind of have a general idea, not through any analytical, carefully planned A/B testing, but after doing, 3,000
The
posts
volume
just
of
on
your
Actually Agents.
experience.
I mean, I kind of know what's going to kill and what's going to work. So the biggest issue I see with agents is they don't do anything to build likability. And my grandfather told me from a very young age, and this is a popular saying. I always thought he came up with it. Then I dove into the world of coaches and whatever. And but like me, trust me, do business with me. Right? You guys ever heard that? Like me, trust me, do
Oh
business
yeah.
with me. You're not going to do business with someone you don't trust, and you're not going to trust somebody you don't like. And I think a lot of agents skip to the do business with me, thinking that wearing a suit or driving a BMW will build the trust. And they completely ignore all likability because they don't really fixate on, well, I don't need people to like me. I just need enough people to do business with, right? When really, if you get enough people to like you, that's really your top of funnel. Eventually they'll trickle down and they'll do business with you. So I think you come across this all the time. I'm looking at agent profiles all the time. It's the cookie cutter brokerage e-cards. Happy 4th of July, right? Hey, hate to break it to you, Brenda from Coldwell Banker. Sorry if there's a Brenda listening, but they know it's 4th of July. All right. You putting your business card profile picture on the bottom of that with your office number, you know, the cutout. It's got their face,
Oh
office
yeah.
number, the cell phone. Happy 4th of July with clip art fireworks. And there's a lot of things wrong with that post. But first and foremost, nobody gives a shit. They know it's 4th of July. They're hanging out with their families right now, scrolling Instagram because their uncle's talking about conspiracy theories, right? That's why they're on the platform. They don't need to know it's 4th of July. The other thing is those types of posts uh, usually have a website on them. And we're talking Instagram specifically here, right? The brokerage flyers that people put out, it always auto loads your phone number and your website. Now, I don't want to say some buzzwords to piss off the algorithm of wherever this is getting posted, but during the big Rona, that thing in 2020 that happened, and, we
Yeah.
all got a 2-week vacation, lasted a lot longer than 2 weeks. We learned on sites like Instagram and sites like Twitter that if you posted certain information or even certain pictures, you would get a little fact checker or a CDC warning, right? Now, in my mind, when I saw that, I thought, well, how the heck do they know that that's what I'm posting about? Because I didn't put any text, it's just a picture. And then, 2, 3 years later, we have the whole AI explosion, and you realize when stuff explodes like open AI, I mean, people on the back end industry have been working with that type of technology for years and years. So I put the dots together that Instagram reads every single piece of text on their platform, whether it's imagery or in the caption, right? Which also means they're reading your DMs, and we can go into that. So when you do, back to the original, because I'm kind of going on a tangent, but when you do that cookie cutter brokerage post or that cookie cutter storefront at, hey, work with me, and you include your contact information on there, boom, instantly killing all your engagement. Those posts will never perform well. You have an outside link to a website that they can't click on. by the way. No one's typing in blah 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 blah. And then you have an outside phone number, which is also something that they're super wary of, right? Because they don't want people conducting.
Well, they want to keep people on they want to keep people on the feed, right? They
Yep.
want to keep people in there. So if you're, I mean, and this is getting into maybe nitty gritty stuff, but if you want to have a call to action on something, like you keep it in there, comment, DM me, keep it all inside Instagram, where Instagram's like, great, if this is going to feed people into staying in the app and interacting in the app, where we can read even more about what they're doing and understand their preferences and serve them better ads and all that stuff, they're going to want that staying on the platform, I would imagine, and they'll boost that up even a little bit.
And Matt, as you talked about, like, this is kind of getting into the nitty gritty, but the reality is, like, this is like the simple mistakes. This is the simple stuff that people can fix on their posts and the things they're putting out. Like right now, today, the next post they put out, they can say, I don't want to put these things in here. I need to leave this stuff out. Now, the funny thing is as they're leaving it out, their brain's going to be going, but how are they going to find me? How are they going to know to do real estate with me? How are they going to go? And I think this is the difference, Luca, of what you're talking about. Like, are you building a brand or are you building a storefront, and changing the perception of, this is not my storefront. This is so people understand me and like me and trust me, because the sign that went up across the street just recently that you're going, why in the world didn't they use me? They should have used me. I'm their neighbor. I think the simple way to look at it is they don't trust you and they don't like you potentially, because they don't really know who you are. You're just this realtor showing up around them. And yeah, they wouldn't use somebody they liked and they trusted. So I love this mentality.
It's like they get their box of business cards and they're doing a speed run on how fast can I hand these business cards out, right? And that's it. Like, but I handed out 1,000 business cards. 1,000 people know I'm in the business. Well, that's all you did. 1,000 people don't care. They don't care.
Well, what's incredible about this is you think about training, sales training in general. Well, I should say sales training has elevated significantly, at least the way I consume it, because I go on YouTube and I watch Hormozy and Gary Vee and Martell and, all the guys out there, right? That's how like sales training, in my opinion, should be done now, is just go on YouTube and find the pros that are doing it. But inside corporations and brokerages, like, they don't talk about likability. They do talk about, like, how many contacts are you making? How many business cards did you hand out? How many calls? And now those metrics are important when it comes into the overall picture of your performance. But if you're not likable on the front side, you're going to be missing a big opportunity. And look at this gets into like growing your audience and building community, right? Because one thing that you've done an incredible job with from the very early days of Actually Agents, which is how we connected, as you saw this starting to go up and you're like, I can build relationships with this. And what, like, you saw that connection between, hey, here's fun content, and I could just build great content and have people laugh and follow it and like it and comment. But instead you did that, but then you built on top of that by like, I'm going to introduce myself to everybody who comes here. I'm going to welcome them. I'm going to build this community. And now you have a Discord with 20,000 people in it, which you're now helping agents be better agents too. Like, there's so much more than just funny memes. Now you're actually, instead of just helping a brokerage of people, thousands and thousands of agents be better. So tell us a little bit about the strategy on that, and what kind of like inspired you, or what did you see? Like, what were the things where you're like, hey, community and relationships is the way?
Probably just because I had never had such a response on content that I posted, such a positive response. I'd run pages, as a joke in high school, back when Facebook pages were a big thing. But most of my positive response that I got on social media up until this point was from friends and family, people I already knew, right? That was the typical social media. It's what it was originally supposed to be, really. Show pictures to your family and friends, interact with them online because you miss them and you can't talk to them, right? MySpace, Facebook, whatever. But I had strangers like yourself, Matt. I mean, I'm reading their bios, and now I know anyone can write anything in a bio, but I was young and new to this world. But I had strangers with, at the time, blue checks messaging me. I love the content. This is crazy. This is what real estate needs. And And it just felt really, really good because I was the class clown. Somewhere in my brain, I get validation from making people laugh, right? And that was my entire school life. And it really fed a part of me that I felt I lost when I erroneously believed that I needed to be this super serious business guy because that was the idea of what I thought I should be based on what I was doing because I had the wrong impression or the wrong idea of what I actually was doing. You know, that disconnect between the reality and what I thought it was, right? What I thought running the brokerage would be like. Um, I had in my mind that, I have to act this way. And I had already seen that that was not the reality of what running the brokerage was, but I was still holding on to this thought like, if I'm posting content online, it's got to be educational. It's got to make me look successful. It has to paint me in a super appealing light to the most amount of people as possible. I was still stuck in that mindset. And I had stopped posting any funny content up till that point to my friends and family. I had almost become a ghost on social media. And it had been like 3 years since I posted something that had a positive response. And it just happened to be through this page. And I said, well, that's really awesome. I have creators that I follow and I buy their products or I, join their groups for other stuff outside of real estate. I'm like, why can't I be one of those guys? Right? Why can't I form relationships with people so they kind of look at me like that guy I bought a $50 product from, how I look at that guy? So that was kind of the evolution. It was really just people's positive comments and messages. And I'm like, wow, somebody took the time out of their day to message me that I made them smile or, I made an impact on them, however small. And it sounds really vapid, but uh, I really think about that whole thing that these gurus go around and they're like, well, if 100 people viewed your post, imagine 100 people in a room, right? And I still hold that, even though I'm big. Like Eric and I from the Broke Agent, we talk about content all the time. Like, I just posted a flop or it's not performing well, but I never lose sight of, man, 500 people in a room is a lot of people, right? Make them laugh.
Yeah.
It still has an impact on me outside of building a business off this whole thing and whatnot.
Well, so Luca, you found your brand and your niche in comedy and humor and making people laugh. And I think that's where a lot of people out here struggle is like, oh, what is my brand? And I think it's refreshing to know that you didn't even know your brand until you kind of accidentally fell back into like, well, who am I? Again, a little bit of alcohol involved to make you all of a sudden go like, well, I know who I am. Like, I know what I do. But I think the interesting part is there's a lot of people out there who don't know their brand and they're trying to act like the others around them. They're trying to act like all the agents that I think you are looking at and going like, well, I got to be this way, I have to show up this way, I have to act this way. And one of the most enduring things that I have found is being authentic and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. The people that know you and like you the best resonate the best with that. How do you help people? Because you said you work with people to build brands and build communities. Do you have any strategies or ways that you help them figure out what their brand is? Because not everybody's brand is being funny and being the jokester. Because that's I know a lot of agents, if they took a lot of your stuff, like a post I'm looking at right here, right now, that says, I would never use you as my agent with the content you post. And you wrote, that's the point of the page, Karen. It's to make fun of people that I don't want as my clients. Like
Was that a Facebook comment?
this is you.
That sounds like something I would reply to on a Facebook comment.
This is an actual, you turned this into a post on your thing. So I figured you'd grabbed it out of the comments of something that was actually written. I think you being authentic like that is what makes this all work. You're bringing your true passion, your true energy out. What are the tools and what are the strategies, or do you have any to help people figure out what their brand is and what they should be putting out there?
So on the brand building and community side, usually I'm selective and we work with established companies. So they kind of have an idea of who their ideal client is and what type of community they want to build. But for real estate agents that I talk to, I think a lot of people get it twisted, thinking that they have to be the brand, like they have to be the showpiece, the front and center. Like, I'll use Matt as an example here. Like, Matt Benelli needs to be what the brand is built around, right? When Matt Benelli could just be the largest component of the brand. And it's going to sound confusing, so I'll break it down like this. Actually Agents, the meme page, exists as this thing. Luca is the guy from Actually Agents, right? The main guy from Actually Agents. Actually Agents provides content for real estate agents, and Luca benefits from providing content and joy to all these real estate agents through Actually Agents. So what would this look like for a regular real estate agent? Well, rather than Mary Kay Realtor, right? Let's say she's really into crochet or sewing or cooking, right? All great examples. Whatever authentically she enjoys doing, right? She creates a page just for that type of content. This is what we do. Or doesn't even have to be an Instagram page. It could be a group on Facebook, whatever. The medium doesn't matter. It's just she's focusing on something she actually enjoys, which for me, I enjoy making people laugh, right? And not to glaze myself, but I think I have a talent for being witty and turning a joke. But let's say Mary Kay, she's the best. I mean, she does the best cakes and the best cookies, right? And she really enjoys it. That's what she really enjoys. Build a community around that, right? Start a baking page, start a cooking page. Residential real estate, you're probably going to have to niche down and get a little more local with it. But, if you get a 30-person a baking club, right, where you rent out a commercial kitchen in your area once a month, you get 30 people who are also interested in cooking in your local area, and you turn this into a reoccurring thing. And, like, instead of hosting cocktail networking or having a mortgage broker sponsor that, right, you host a baking class and you turn it into a thing. You organize on a Facebook page. You become a part of these people's lives, other people who also enjoy what you do, right? Makes it a lot easier to build a connection. You don't have to put on a facade. You instantly have common ground. You're providing joy in their life, and you capitalize on that joy by enjoying yourself and also being the biggest face within whatever this thing is that you built. There's an agent down in Sandy Springs, Georgia, named Matt LaMarche. I have to send him a text because I said I'll text him whenever I use him as an example. He does Porsches. He loves Porsches, right? Now that's a great hobby to have. Okay, yeah, let me get in with all the Porsche owners. But it's just an example. He started a Porsche club in his market. He hosts the events, leads them on their rides, manages the Facebook group, all that stuff, and he put himself at the center of things his potential clients would enjoy. And that's how he built a
That he
life that
enjoys.
he enjoys too. So it's not really work, or if it is work, it's a lot less mentally taxing, right? So that's how an agent could approach this.
So like I just wrote down, build community around your passions, right? And I think of, a lot of realtors remove the dimension of themselves when they start to, quote, build their brand online. They're like, hey, I got to make sure people know I'm a realtor. And it's like, well, yes, but they need to know you're a human being first, because people connect with other people who have dimensions. So of course they want to know what you do and how you can serve them, but that comes after they know, hey, do I like this person, as you talked about? Also, what's this person about? What are they here? What are they really here for? What's kind of their mission? And also, like, are they human? Are there a little bit of flaws or maybe things behind there? Like, can I understand the personality behind that? And I think that's something that you've done through the one-on-one connections you've made through Actually Agents, right? Because I mean, we're focused on Actually Agents, but I would be curious to know too, like the percentage of time, because you're involved in so many other things too now that kind of stemmed from just that little action that was going on in Actually Agents. You've built a larger network. You have the Discord, you have Pudgy Penguins you're involved in. You have a lot of other things that you're involved in. Now you're part of the Broke Agent Media Network as well. So coming to like the question here, which is building depth, right? Like when you look at the people that you work with, is there a kind of a framework for that and helping somebody understand how they can understand themselves? Because let's say like, all right, great, I'm not passionate about cooking, or I don't want to build a community group there. How can I just share? Can I share that? And will people be attracted to just me sharing that?
If you don't want to build a community and go through the nitty gritty of, managing and putting on IRL events, like Actually Agents, we have our weekly mastermind, like that's non-negotiable. That happens every week. You can just make your passions and your hobbies a main focus of the content you put out. I think you said this to me once, or maybe I heard it somewhere else, but my name is Luca. I'm a real estate agent and I like to do this. Is very different than my name is Luca. I like to do this and I happen to sell real estate, right? When you lead with my name is Luca, I'm a real estate agent, just mentally how you're thinking about this, that's the primary focus. And unfortunately, what's the stat? The average person in America knows or is connected to 12 real estate agents, right? 12 real estate agents. And by the way, business with a 90% burnout rate, it burns out because, hate to say, majority of the agents suck because the barrier of entry is like winning it out of a claw machine, your license. Okay. So most of them suck. And what they do is they give every other real estate agent a bad name because they're doing that. Hey, I just rocketed out 1,000 business cards that ultimately end up in a landfill before I quit the business and go back to my corporate life. They just ruined it for you. They ruined you being a real estate agent as your primary thing about you, your primary personality trait. That's ruined. Because the moment I realized your primary personality trait is real estate agent, well, shit, now I can never have a genuine conversation with you because you're going to want to figure out how my marriage is doing. Maybe I'm going to get divorced, right? You're going to be asking, oh, you just finished your finished basement. Oh my God, I heard your grandmother coughing. Is everything all right? That's what goes through. But seriously, that's what goes through people's heads. And like it or not, I think it is a lot easier to prove that you're more than just a real estate agent than it is to fight against all the negative stereotypes that people have about the industry. Because unfortunately, for every great thing you do as a real estate agent to bring this business up, to elevate your level of care to your clients, every good thing you do that makes a good name for a real estate agent, 10 others just did something bad that makes us all look really bad, right? And I would love this beacon call of real estate agents rallying together to uplift the industry, and we're all just going to be better. We're all going to be better. And fact of the matter, never going to fucking happen. Sorry to curse. I don't know if this is a cursing podcast. You can be out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out as we
That's
go.
never going to happen, right? So don't lead with real estate. Lead with you have, and it's a mental thing too. Who am I? You got to figure out something other than what you're selling.
That question, that's the interesting thing as I watch people that get into real estate. A lot of people get into real estate as a second, third, fourth career. They all of a sudden are like, you know what, I'm gonna take a shot at being a realtor. And it's funny how fast they take it as their identity. Like they take it like a cape they put on and they're like, now I'm going to wear this cape and this uniform every single day. Everybody's going to know this is what I do. And when that opportunity does come up to introduce yourself to somebody, it's like, this is my chance to let them know what I do. And you are so dead on that the industry has made it so that when that word comes out of their mouth, everybody throws up red flags and goes, okay, we got to be careful now about kind of what we say. I mean, I used to sell cars. I used to sell used cars.
You're the worst.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Don't tell me where
I had experiences where I would say, what do you do? And I'd be like, I'm a car salesman. And you could watch everybody. They would actually physically do it out loud. They would say, oh, like it was like, okay, like I'm kind of tired of talking about it now because every time I bring it up, you can just feel the energy drop all around me. And I love this. Like, what is your brand and who are you? And you're not necessarily real. There's very few industries that lead with what they do. If you say like, who are you? Tell me about you. If you owned a welding shop in town, you're going to tell usually about all your hobbies and who you are in town. And and I also run the welding shop over here. It's a very different approach. It's very interesting. I'm happy you brought it up that way because I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Man, you hit it right there. When you see somebody physically recoil when you mention it, or just a twitch, or like, oh God, and the energy just shifts because now they're on the defensive because they've just whatever they've been programmed to hear or think about real estate agents. So you never want to lead with that. And that's your digital and your physical too. Right. So it's really a mental the biggest block here is mental because there's probably an agent listening here who's like lost about what am I passionate about outside of real estate because this career can be all consuming. I mean, think about it. You get your license, they tell you, well, there are no hours. You hunt, you eat what you hunt. And by the way, here's a name tag you can wear everywhere. Right. One of my managers actually advised me this when I just started. It's like dress good everywhere and wear your name tag to the grocery store. And I was like, wow, that seems
Oh yeah,
really
I remember
smart.
that strategy.
Yeah. Wear your name tag to the grocery store.
And then just say, "Oh, I forgot to take this off.
Yeah.
Is this
Like,
still
oh,
on?"
I'm
Oh,
like, that's genius. Everyone will know. I never even have to mention it. Blah, blah. But in retrospect, looking back, it's like, man, I can't even enjoy going. I love cooking. I'm a big chef, right? And I enjoy the grocery store. I do. But now I can't now the grocery store isn't just like work actually to maintain the household. Now the grocery store is actual work, right? I should be on the lookout for prospects and people I know. And it's like if you make real estate all consuming and you don't enjoy it or you're not getting traction or whatever, then everything you do becomes non-enjoyable.
It's interesting you bring it up this way because I've been playing around. I love cars. As much as you love cooking, I probably share that passion and love for vehicles and cars and working on cars. And I've been wanting to start a channel for a long time around cars and building that out. And the funny thing is every single time I set up a video camera to work on a car, the enjoyment of working on the car goes out the window. It's like all of a sudden this thing that I have this passion and this love for, now I'm turning it into this thing. Well, how do we turn it into a business? And it's like I don't even want to go work on the car now. And then I find myself doing my projects going, that would have been really good content that no one's ever going to see because I just was enjoying myself working on the car. I think you got to find those breaks for yourself. Otherwise you burn yourself out.
Dude, my advice there is don't look I know you're probably not looking for advice, but don't look at man, let me start a car content and see how I can turn that into a business, right? I didn't really even take Actually Agents serious as it could do something for me until I hit 50,000 followers. I was just enjoying sharing this content with other people and also having other people resonate with it. And I knew like, okay, I'm not the only one who feels this way, right?
Well, I've already taken tons of notes here because I actually wrote down, look at the car thing as a way to build your personality of who you are and what you're out. Have that just be out there and forget about it trying to be a business. That's not what it should be. It should just be like the one who's, posting about her cookies and her baking group.
My dad is super into cars. It didn't the bug didn't catch me really. But I mean, listen, when I was like 7, 8, we were dropping an engine out of an MG, with British style engine, had to use millimeter. I mean, it was torturous, torturous. And I didn't enjoy cars doing it, but he loved it. He lived for it, right? So I know the bad side of it. If you can look at it as an extension of I'm getting validation from people I don't know that I'm doing something cool, right? Because my dad used to catch so we used to do dirt track racing, pure stock. '86 Monte Carlos, take him out, got him with the roll cage.
I already love your dad, Luca. It
Yeah,
sounds
he's
like
a
a great
great
guy.
guy. He's a great guy. But my mom, and I love the racing aspect and all that. Even though I was starting to like the computer screens at that time, but my mom never got it. My mom never understood it. He got no end of grief for the race car stuff, but this was therapeutic for him. And I just always remember my mom giving him so much grief. Oh my God, a set of tires costs what? You got to do one of those every week for a race. But my dad, like 3 years in a row at our local dirt track, was like the grand champion. I mean, in this world, he was him. He was the guy. And for me looking at that, I was very proud of him, right? But I think for him, and he was a real estate agent too, he got the enjoyment in working out of the car, loved to drive, loved to race, was good at it. But I know a part of him really loved the validation that, everybody in my family, pretty much, except me, did not enjoy the car stuff. And I didn't really enjoy the cars. I really liked hanging out with my dad, no matter what it was, right? Um, but for him to be good and to be in these arenas and get the validation there, I think helped him a lot mentally. I don't want to speak for him or his frame of mind. So if you could look at something like that as an extension of uh, um, being validated that you're doing cool shit.
Well, and you look at it if you were to take him in that time period, bring him into today's world with your background that you have of saying, okay, well, let's take this validation that you're getting off racing, let's turn it into something that more and more people can live through the eyes of you of what you're getting to do and what you're getting. He was running a real estate office, right? Like, what isn't that? Is that
Yeah.
also that was his main
He's
career?
only doing sales now. We sold the brokerage, but I will tell you, the guy doesn't have a Facebook, doesn't have an Instagram, does not race anymore since he had an accident maybe 8 years ago. And he's like, okay, I'm too old for this. Thank God he's all right. Um, but he does a book of business that most agents would be jealous of still. Doesn't cold call, doesn't prospect. And I will tell you, 90% of his business comes from that race car network that he built up about his passion and his hobby. And my dad, I've never seen anything like it because I still go over there, his house and his office, and because I like when we work together, right? Talking about deals and this. And I've never seen it before, but he'll turn to me, he'll be like, he looks at his board, he's got a whiteboard with all his deals on it, and he's like, pipeline looks a little light for 2 months from now. And right there live, he'll make a call to someone he hasn't talked to in 5-6 years from the race car world. Hey Gary, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. What's going? Never freaking talks about real estate. They inevitably bring it up, and I have seen it play out in real time. He looks at the board, pipeline looks dry, makes a call, talks about race cars, ends up getting a lead out of that. That's his cold call, and I've seen it in real time.
So let's talk about community for a second. And so obviously your dad has built this incredible community, whether you're using a social media platform, whether you're using, whatever you got.
I want to highlight too, Garrett, as you go down this path, like community is your connections. Your connections are your community. Community doesn't have to be this established, like, welcome to this community. Like, it is who you're connected with. And keep going, because I'm loving this two-way coaching session going on right now.
Yeah. So, okay, so you've got this platform, whatever it is, whether it's a community like that, which is a racing community. I mean, I know people in town that have their car communities and they go driving every weekend with all their friends and they all get together and enjoy that stuff. Whatever that looks like, the dangers I watch a lot of realtors, and it's not just realtors, I think it's business owners in general, as they hire somebody and they give their brand to somebody else with no direction, no real input, but they go, oh, thank goodness, I've got somebody managing that's taken off my plate. I don't need to worry about it. And can we talk a little bit about the dangers of that to your brand? Because I have watched it people thinking it's a good thing and completely screwing up their world where all their people that do know them, like them and trust them go, something's off. Like something doesn't feel right. That's not the person that I know. It's like, what's wrong with that? It's like seeing the person doesn't drink drunk at a party and going, are they okay?
Exactly. If my dad were to hire an agency to build a Facebook page for him, right? Not that that would be a bad thing, but everyone would instantly know it's not him because he's made it a point of pride that I'm not on any of that crap. Y'all are living in the fantasy world. Um, so they would instantly know. But it really, if when you outsource your brand without having first established it yourself, it reduces everything to a numbers game because that's how the agency world works, right? How many follows am I getting? How many likes am I getting? How many comments am I getting? How many form submissions to my lead pages am I getting? Because that's how social media agencies work with KPIs, right? So that's one of the dangers because if the goal is just to get likes, um, a like ain't putting money in your pocket. A comment doesn't put a lead in your CRM. A form submission doesn't take a buyer out to see houses, right? It loses all human element. And even worse so if the agency doesn't have a real estate background. They don't know what they don't know. They're going to post BS housing stats. They're not going to double check it or whatever. Um, so yeah, it's a recipe for disaster if you don't know what you're getting into at the start. I think agency, like the stuff I do for brand growth, I think that works and can be beneficial for people. There's a reason I don't offer it to real estate agents. Even I have this big, huge community, right, of real estate agents, people who have social media problems. You think I would be blasting everywhere in there like, hey, let me run you. No, I don't want to do it because the type of brand that I want to work for or the type of client I want to have in that arena um, is not the same type of client who would reach out to me to build their real estate brand, right? I mean, I'm looking for established brands who aren't hitting the organic like they want.
Well, I think too, Luca, you're serving them in that capacity because you know that, I mean, a lot of the people that are in the Discord community, which that's going to be linked in the show notes, by the way, guys, because
Appreciate it.
once a week, Luca and I get together and host a morning session on Tuesdays, which is fantastic. Lots of really good stuff coming out of that. And he's got the mastermind that happens every Thursday night. But you also know that everybody in there needs to build their brand themselves because you're going to be, banging your head against the wall trying to do it for them. It's not going to be enjoyable for you. And it's not going to get them the performance that they really want, which is, and I think it also changes their intention with it. When I see agents go and say, hey, I'm going to hire this agency or this thing to do this for me to make sure that I get business, right? The intent now all of a sudden gets skewed a bit. Now, I'm not saying you can't look for resources to help you with your marketing stuff. I run a marketing company for postcards. So like I want people coming to me to help them. But I also want to make sure they know what they're getting into, right? When they do that. And so I think you're serving the community by not doing that because you want them to do it in the right way, which is bringing the authentic version of themselves. And I think that's the key with this entire conversation. If for those of you listening, I'm sure you figured it out by now. But if you are yourself first, if you are who you are as a human being first, the real estate, the insurance, the loans, the customers through the storefront, the people in the
Fill the
dining room,
blanks
whatever
with
business you
anything
run,
you
they're going
want.
to come. Yeah, they're going to come to you, right? So, Luca, there's a lot of different paths here, man. I appreciate all this time that you're giving us here today, too. Tell us a little bit. So, Actually Agents has grown a bit, and you now have this relationship with Eric Simon and the Broke Agent, which is another major meme account for the real estate world, which he's going to be on the podcast coming up here too. And now you guys are together in Broke Agent Media. Tell us a little bit about that relationship, how that came about, and what kind of your vision as part of that is.
Oh man. So this is one of the if I quit everything tomorrow and I look back on the whole page growth and what major life lessons I could take out of it, this relationship with Eric would be one of them. Because for many years, um, I wouldn't say it was contentious, but it almost felt like a Cold War, right? We had these two brands that were doing similar things, kind of going at parallel routes and never interacting with each other. Like you do your thing, I'm doing my thing. and I forget who initiated it. Might have been, probably was Eric, might have been me. I don't know. I'm just happy it happened. But we got together and we're like, listen, Eric, you're building a media company, right? I'm doing we had just sold off the lead gen company. I'm pushing services and really just kind of getting myself into good networks here and pushing my services on the back end. I don't think those compete, right? We're not really in competition. We're serving similar audiences. Our top of funnel is very similar, but our bottom of funnel is wildly different, right? So let's bury the hatchet and let's just team up. I'll promote your stuff, you promote my stuff, the mastermind, that kind of stuff. And they do our YouTube channel. All I have to do is focus on providing the recordings from the masterminds and the event, which is good because I kind of get lax on my brand because it's not like I'm pushing products. It's not like my only KPI for Actually Agents is grow the Instagram following. Eventually they'll funnel to the Discord and that's it, right? Like I'm not selling products through there. I'm not getting signups for my agency management. I'm just putting myself in the mix. So they help out a lot with the YouTube and that kind of stuff, the live events. It's great for us to promote live events, right? Whether they're webinars or in person on in Vegas. So, and they just have an excellent infrastructure. So it's been really good for me. And also, we had tried very early on to write an ebook, and I was maybe at 15,000, 20,000 followers. And I kind of pulled the plug on that because I didn't feel confident that I knew the Instagram algorithm. And that's kind of when the Cold War started. But we revisited that, did ebooks, and now we push out content together, and we turned Winning the Morning into an ebook so I can help promote you, right? And the circle of friendship can extend. So I'm not articulating myself properly, but I'm just very grateful for that because I think it's a big life lesson that competition is really, really in your head because we were both feeling the same way, but neither years, literal years, we put off that conversation. And I wish we had done it 2 years earlier when they just started Broke Agent Media and I could have gotten in on the ground floor. So it's been very good for my brand. I think it lends a lot of it lends more, he's crafted a more serious, more direct to agent brand. So it lends it lends a little more of the serious, let's get down to business through the live events and the ebooks and that kind of stuff. And I bring a new audience and a different voice, right? I'm a little edgier in my content, right? Because I don't have a brand like I Actually Agents could torch down tomorrow and yeah, the reputation would take a hit, but I don't sell products through there, right? Eric has a media company. He's selling sponsorships, slots, advertising. He has to be more careful with his content, unfortunately. So maybe call it a pressure release valve if you can. I can release the pressure.
What I love is that you guys figured out that, and then this is what I watch all the time is that even if there is, you talked about being in competition and you're like, at the end of the day, we're not in competition with each other. But even at that, I have found that when you can find those like for like type people out there, and we're doing it right now. Matt and I talk about it all the time of all the amazing coaches and people that we have in our world. And at the end of the day, we're all kind of playing the same game. But at the same point, when we can all band together and work together and share information together and bring our expertise together, we all grow. We all benefit at the end of the day as we all raise the bar for everybody around us. And whether it's raising it by humor, if it's raising it by, levity, like I look at like our worlds and just is like, we have this ability of just helping everybody be better and just raising the energy around us. So I'm so happy you guys paired up and are working together because it should have been done. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great relationship. So and by the way, he's an incredibly intelligent individual. I am very I owe him a lot of flowers and respect for what he's built over there, because out of a meme page, I don't, when he started 7 years ago, or he'll probably tell you, but meme pages were just that, meme pages. Now they're called theme pages. We dropped the end, theme pages, but really, dude, in this niche, if you were to start a general humor meme page, you ain't doing anything with that. All right. Those people won't even buy a $5 t-shirt if you were selling them. Right. Different audience. But in this industry, to build what I would say is one of the best modern real estate media companies that exist. I mean, it's fresh, it's young, it's vibrant, it's trending, it's the information the agency needs. To do that off of a humor account, um, the fact that it's off of a humor account just kind of drives the point home how fresh and modern it is. So he gets a lot of my respect for pulling that off, and what BAM's become. I mean, they're a great organization.
I think it also drives home the point of this entire conversation, which is lead with your authentic self, which is what you've done, which is what Eric's done. Lead with something that's fun and enjoyable, and that you're like, hey, I'm going to have a lot of fun building this thing, and it's going to turn into something great because he's building a great media company. But let's also, give you some props for what you're doing in the Discord and running these masterminds and truly on the back end, helping agents be better out there so that the industry can get better. Because I know we talked about, like, the idea of agents coming together and like the industry's all going to rise. Like, yeah, there's 1.5 million realtors out there. Like, to band everybody together like that's going to be hard, but you can do it in small cohorts so that individual people are out there helping each other level up and not look at each other like competition. The collaboration that goes on inside the Discord among agents and agents that are in the same marketplace is incredible. Really is. And so kudos to you as well for creating an environment that fosters cohesiveness and co-opetition as well, right? Because, like,
I like that.
we're out there, but we can cooperate to all get better as well, right? Because there's an abundance of opportunity. Everybody is focused on, transaction volumes down, all this stuff. I mean, there is plenty of business out there for the people who actually want to do business. And if you work together, you can make it happen. And so kudos to you guys coming together on that too. Now, coming up, there are some opportunities if people want to get interactive, if they want to interact with you, if they want to see what's going on at BAM. We got an event coming up with BAM and you got the Discord. Like, how do people access all the stuff that's coming up and connect with you?
Yeah. You can just visit ActuallyValue.com. Has a link to some of our ebooks on there, link to the Discord, bunch of other stuff. I'm pretty sure we have the BAM Mania tickets in there. That's going to be October 18th. I'm sure Eric will talk your ear off about it. BAMmania.com. That's the live conference in Vegas that they are hosting. Don't know if I'll be speaking yet. We're kind of up in the air about it. Vegas is dangerous for me. Okay. I avoid Vegas like the plague. But yeah, it's going to be a great event. Huge lineup of speakers. I think the community. One of the greatest things about like my Discord and like this live event or the webinar is because they've all been built off the backs of authentic brands. It all attracts people who have at a base level some kind of connection already, whether they all share a sense of humor or whatever. Just the demographics are the same. So these live events and the Discord, you really find good camaraderie with people. If you buy into Actually Agents, if you buy into Broke Agent, and you're not like a super offended Karen by the content, you will find a lot of camaraderie within these communities, and I think it would serve every real estate agent really well to get involved somewhere in there. BAM has BAMX, very affordable, tons of courses, and then the Discord, of course, is completely free. If you want something free, I got that for you.
Luca, I want to say thank you so much. Matt, thank you also for reaching out to Luca and inviting him on the podcast here, because you brought so many great takeaways and ideas and thoughts of people who are I think, butchering their social media platforms, or at least maybe not even engaging them. And I feel like that everybody should be able to walk away with a little bit of like a, maybe I should rethink how I'm doing this right now, or maybe step back and take a little bit different approach to it. The word you used over and over again, and you mentioned it about, BAM Mania and the broke agent and you, is the word authentic and being authentic. And I hope everybody takes that out of this episode of when you approach building your brand, find your authentic you, do some research, go do some events, figure out what you're all about, because the more authentic you can be, the more you're going to be able to better your business, yourself, your life. It's more enjoyable. It's just more enjoyable. So, Luca, thank you so much. Do we miss anything? And you got?
I want to say one more thing, because this podcast will live in perpetuity. In our Discord, if I know we got a little nitty gritty here, not super granular, but if you ever want to dive deeper into this stuff, or ask me a question you want to ask, or the community, every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, in the Actually Agents Discord, go to actuallyvalue.com, click the Discord link, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Come to the mastermind, and that's a live Q&A / what was the word? Coopetition?
Coopetition.
Yeah. But, well, really, it's cooperative. I love that word.
Well, that's all
Coopetition.
cooperation that
That's
goes
all
on in there.
cooperation, yeah.
I will say that I've been to a few of those masterminds. It happens to be when I put my girls down for bed, so I don't always get to make it there. But I've been there a few times, and I got to say, like, it's agents helping agents be better, right? And it is good quality stuff because it's moderated, it's managed. It's not just a free for all of people just throwing out like the same question over and over again. And Luca, you host guests on there
Occasionally, nothing
as
structured,
well.
but when we
Occasionally,
get them.
yeah, but I mean, you got people in there. You've had Ryan Serra in there. You've had some pretty big heavy hitters in there. And so guys, definitely check that out because it's 100% free, tons of value. So actuallyvalue.com.
And the same place we
I'm in
host
there
Winning
too.
the Morning, Matt. Tuesdays,
Yeah. You gotta see me in
8:45
there.
EST, and I blow smoke up Matt's butt all the time, but I used to be an up at 11 o'clock kind of guy, and mentally I was kind of struggling a little bit, but Winning the Morning, barring 2 weeks ago, because I had a crisis at Pudgy Penguins,
You were awake though.
I was
You
awake.
were up.
I was awake.
You
I
were
was
rocking.
there. I felt so bad, but I love our sessions together. They really get me pumped. Tuesday is my most productive day, I think, just because of the session that we hold together. So I got to give you some flowers there. And that's all in the same place, guys. Actuallyvalue.com.
Thank you for inviting me into that.
Amazing what happens when you get the day started off on the right foot, huh?
I know. I go around smiling. Like, what is this? Like, what's going on with my face here? Why am I happy? Why am I grateful? So,
well,
thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for being on. For all the listeners that are still here with us, if you want to go check out what we're building, which is lifeat10tense.com, we have an amazing community of people. We have extra content in there. We have live coaching in there. Go check that out if that's something that you're looking for and you want to add into your life. There's lots of great things out there, but we appreciate everybody who tuned in today. Luca, thank you again, and we will be back. And Luca, we got to have you back on maybe as more of a regular. I just enjoy who you are, man.
I appreciate it, Garrett. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.